Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Cap Table. My name is Aaron Ross, joined as always with the one and only Aaron Dillon, Managing Director of AG Dillon and Co. And Aaron, got a few things that I want to talk to you about today. One is the Cerebras IPO. I think this could be one of the biggest signals for AI infrastructure, especially that high inference market that we were talking about last week. SpaceX obviously filed S1. It looks like they're aiming for a June 12th IPO. And of course, forward deployed engineers aren't spoken about enough. So I want to speak about that with you as well. But let's just start with Cerebras for now,
Yeah,
Aaron. So it looks like Cerebras had an amazing IPO. They came out at $185 a share, and they were up 68% closing on the day.
yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, this was obviously a massively successful IPO. Do you think that this is one of the strongest AI infrastructure signals of the year?
Okay, so for those that don't know, Service Systems makes semiconductors, right? So AI chips, specifically for inference. So we all love Grok, right? Which got bought by NVIDIA in December. They also make semiconductor chips for inference. So that this is effectively a very similar business, different types of technology, right? They were highly concentrated in the number of the customers that they had. So they have a lot of
Yeah,
like Middle Eastern customers.
and
But
OpenAI
and
also. Yeah,
correct. And OpenAI, they did a huge deal with OpenAI, right, a couple months back. But they have a cloud business, right? They have a cloud business. So that is kind of a core component. So it's interesting. So you have like, you know, AWS, Google Cloud, Amazon, web services, et cetera, right? You have these neo clouds like CoreWeave. I don't know if they're neo cloud anymore. They're pretty big, right? But CoreWeave and others like that, right? And then now you have these like semiconductor companies that are creating their own cloud businesses for inference, right? Running AI models. That's what inference means, to run an AI model. So that's pretty compelling, right? But to your point on the return, so that where they generated most of their revenue is through the cloud. They're a cloud business. That's their
yeah.
cloud business. They just use their own chips, right? As opposed to buying like NVIDIA GPUs or somebody else's stuff to run. And of course, they feel like they can run, faster for cheaper and all that, right? So
Yeah.
that's the pitch. But just to put an exclamation point on this, current market cap as of right now is 66 billion. Okay. They did a private market round in January 2026 at 23 billion. So like a 3x in like
Gosh.
what? Not even, I mean, it's May, man. It's like 5 months, it's like 4 months. So so to me what's telling about this, like where the public markets are, is that there's very few pure play AI infrastructure opportunities in the public markets. And, people are dying for exposure to this space, this AI infrastructure space. So here comes Cerebras, they, IPO, and they literally get rocket launched higher, right? Which is quite a thing. So, I hope these guys the best. We weren't an investor. It was funny because they had filed an S1 to go public a couple years ago, and that's right when I started to think about AI infrastructure. So I was like, oh shoot, I missed it with these guys. You know what I mean? Like that's it. I'm not gonna invest into them now, and then they're gonna go public. And if the
Well,
world
to be
was a
fair,
different
you did
place,
have Grok.
no, well, that's what I was deciding. I was deciding, in fact, I was going to do both. I was going to do Cerebras and Grok at the same time for like diversification reasons. But this is early. I mean, like people were like, inference, what's that? I mean, it's like very different, right? But like I was gonna do both, and then Cerebras had the S1 filed, and I was like, oh, that's it. I missed it. And then they put it out there, and then people saw it, and they saw that they had like one customer. Like G42 is this big, kind of sovereign wealth fund thing in Middle East. So they pulled it because the market it wasn't being well received. So they pulled the S1, and then I was gonna do another cycle came through, and he was like, okay, now I'm gonna do service, right? Because they're back in, and then they were like, oh, well, we're gonna go public in like 6 months. I'm like, oh, I missed it. and then now it pops and it goes up 3x. So I straight up missed this one. Like I actually am a little salty about it, to be quite honest with you. So like the timing's everything, I guess, in life. But like, yeah, like th this business, I really love the inference space. I think. What do you think? I think 80% of all compute will be inference compute in the future. Like everyone's going to be running AI models, not training new ones, but running them, right? To do like execute tasks every day. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think so too. Listen, like I got to give you credit also because I think that where Cerebras is now, that's where, you and I, we were obviously talking about Grok a while ago. Like we thought that Grok would
Yeah,
be here, and then we kind of got like almost like I don't want to say like Grok got bought out and it was great, but I think that Grok could have been $100 billion business on a
oh, for
very
sure.
similar timeline. And it's almost like
Yeah,
rest in peace. It's tragic that they had to rip out Jonathan Ross, and then their CFO, CEO, they ripped him out too. But it is very interesting to see the market value this inference technology, because really most of the technology is in the private space, and we're obviously seeing valuations fly in the secondary
yeah,
market like they always do. But it's really good to get a signal and kind of a feel of where the public markets right now. What's hot right now is the semiconductor companies. Like Leopold, what's his name,
yeah, I know.
Aschenbrenner, something like that guy. He's
Yeah,
actually betting against semiconductors
the
right now.
Oracle, the Oracle of
Yeah,
Silicon Valley, Leopold.
that's right. The golden boy. The golden boy. He's betting against chips right now, and he's actually just
Yeah,
saying, it's not going to be about the chips right now. It's going to be about the power behind them, and it's also going to be about the inference, actually getting that
right.
out there, delivering everything. And I think that he's right. I'd be really curious to check actually if Cerebras has actually made it into his hedge fund. I'm not sure if it did or if it didn't, but I mean, this was what Grok could have been, Aaron. You and I, we got the liquidity event, but
Grok's not done yet. It's not
it's
done
not
yet.
done yet.
Grok
And
Cloud was not part of the deal, right? And we're short on compute all over the world, so it's not done yet. I mean, we'll see what happens, right? But
I guess we will see what happens. But you know what? Let's address this here because I don't think that anyone's talked about Grok Cloud since they got bought out. Congratulations, Jonathan Ross and the Grok team. Like they all made their billions. I get it. I understand why they made that deal. But
yeah,
just a couple stats from you. This is from Sacra also. So like, this is really good data over here. December 2025, they exit on $510 million in revenue. Um, Now, I just got this report from Sacra today, May 2026. Where is Grok Cloud? Remember, Grok Cloud is an independent company. 660 million implied year. Excuse me, 660 million, not implied year annualized rate. This is what they're at right now. And it's only like
yeah,
5 months into the year. Like, there is so much room for this inference market. And
yes,
I'm kind of happy, Aaron, because we got like, our main, we had the steak, with Grok. But
yeah,
now I'm thinking that we can come back here and get our dessert too with Grok Cloud.
yeah. It's like it's killing me because I actually did some research on like the actual Grok Cloud users by month, right? Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
Yeah,
Um,
here I got some of this is 2025 revenue that slipped to 2026 from capacity delivery delays. The range is okay, so they're actually saying it's pretty conservative right now, but they're saying a conservative estimate for right now, what their revenue is 600 to 780 million dollars so far
is
this
that
year.
so? That's Sacra's number. That's Sacra's
That's
number.
Sacra.
Those
Yeah,
guys are good. Those guys do very good work. The okay, so if that's Grok Cloud, just to give you a point of reference, that's like the size of like Together AI. That's like the size of Lambda Labs. Those are like $5 to $8 billion valuation companies, and they're just doing, and those guys just do, well, they do other things too. I don't want to make it sound, but like that's a big part of their business is just AI cloud compute, right? On its
yeah.
face. So like, like that's a growing business. Like the numbers that I was seeing was that they had 2 million software developers using Grok Cloud in December of 2025 when the deal with NVIDIA got announced. And then the latest number I saw on their website at Grok Cloud, Grok, was 3.5 million users Right? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so yes, March, yeah, 2 million in late 2025, and then 3.5 million as of February 16. That was in a press release.
Boom.
So
Like that's hot. That is
they
hot.
added 1.5 million developers after the deal with NVIDIA got announced. So like, but so to me, like, what does that mean? That means like NVIDIA blessed the Grok LPU. They bought it, right? They bought the technology. So they blessed it. So then everybody was like, well, where can I get this? Right? And there it is. Like you could sign up today, right? So everyone ran over there and got it. Like I just think there's like that's really compelling, right? And they're hiring people again too. They got some open job recs up on
Ooh.
Grok.com for I've been monitoring that, right? Just to see like if they're actually bringing on people again. But you kind of alluded to it earlier, like Jonathan Ross left and went to NVIDIA. He was the CEO, and then they had the CFO step into the CEO role, and that fellow just left in April to go to Bloom Energy. He's now the CFO of Bloom Energy, which is a publicly traded company. So like they're right now they're CEO list, but I'm like very hopeful. I'll say it that way. I'm very hopeful that Grok Cloud could turn into like a very big business. I mean, of course, we'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta buy. Like, here's the thing, Aaron. If you're the CEO of Grok, what do you do? Because you can't make new LPUs. That whole team's gone. They're all at NVIDIA now. So you could buy LPUs from NVIDIA, the new
Yeah.
versions of them.
Mm. I mean, listen, they're growing so fast, and Nvidia's on their cap table too. So I think that you have that relationship, and I think, listen, Jonathan Ross within the role that he's in right now, I think that he's head of AI architecture. I think that Grok will always be his baby, and he kind of knows that he stepped out. He cashed out when it could have been a huge multi-hundred-billion-dollar company. I think that they still have a lot of room to grow. Leadership obviously is walking into a very interesting situation, but if they can get those LPUs, I think that
Yeah,
Grok Cloud as a neo cloud comparison, it should be more thought of as like an inference SaaS or
right.
a dedicated LPU platform rather than like a CoreWeave style GPUs business. Like that's not what it is. Like we have our hyperscalers. We got Together AI, Lambda, and CoreWeave. I don't see this as the same thing because you're renting tokens from them, really. And I think that if they can find the right leadership and
You
execute
saying because it's
properly,
inference and not training? Is that what you're saying? Because it's inference, not
exactly.
training? Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, got it.
exactly. So like
Got it.
for that reason, I think that Grok Cloud can do something really significant. My question to you though, Aaron, I'll throw it right back at you, is like, do you think that like they can have some sort of liquidity event, or do you think that because of everything that happened to them and
Yeah.
everything that happened, you know, all their talent being taken away, what do you think their path to liquidity can actually look like from here?
Okay, so first of all, Jonathan Ross, I think, did a great deal for himself. So I like
Yeah,
kudos to him. That guy crushed it. Because here's the thing, man. Like Rock like struggled out of the gates. Like I think they almost went bankrupt like twice a couple of years
yeah,
back. So I'm sure, like, my understanding is, I think he is the CEO, like founder and CEO. He had like less than 10% equity in the company, right? So, you think about what that means. It's like, all right, if you wanted to have like a $1 billion exit, $1 billion plus exit, you know, Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, rolls up and says, hey, I could do this deal right now and make you a billionaire today. Right? Like right now. All you have to do is sign right here. You know what I mean? Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna have you come and join, NVIDIA, and you're gonna run this massive like division. You're gonna change the world, like all that stuff, right? Which is pretty cool job. Or you know what? You can roll the dice, and I'll see you in the arena. And like, maybe you're gonna have to build this business into like a 50, 75, $100 billion business for you to get the same amount of money that I'm telling you you can sign
yeah,
right here. And it's like, okay, like that's gonna probably take me 5 years. My wife's gonna hate me because she's not gonna see me every day because I'm doing, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, on all I have to do is sign right here. It's like done, like done. I'm in. So like,
yeah,
I think it was for him, and I don't blame him, man. Like if I think most rational people would make that same decision. So like, all good. Like go get your bag, done. Good for you. Now, what I what I hope happens with Grok is that I hope that I hope they bring in a team that's the board, right? Brings in a team and just runs hard at this cloud business. Like I remember getting calls in December from like guys in the cap table, like out in the marketplace. And I'm like, please tell those guys. I was telling them, I want to invest into Grok Cloud. Please tell them to do another round or keep some of this money they're getting from NVIDIA and like use that to like invest in the Grok Cloud and build out that business. Like build that business, that Grok Cloud business, I think could be bigger than the first deal that they did. It has that potential. I don't
Whoa.
know if they'll do it, but I think it has the potential to be like a 20, $30 billion business on its own, just Grok Cloud, right? So, but you got to like focus on it and build it out. And then, because they really don't have the chops to build new LPUs going forward, they can have the LPU technology that they have today that they already built. They can just build more of those, which we could talk about that if you want to, and why that might be interesting in the near term. But like over the long run, they're going to need to probably buy, like, CoreWeave buys chips from NVIDIA. Together AI buys chips from NVIDIA.
Mhm.
Lambda Labs buys chips from NVIDIA. So guess what Grok Cloud's going to have to do? They're going to have to
They're
buy
gonna have
chips
to
from
go back to
NVIDIA.
Nvidia. It feels so wrong though. Like that was their chip. That was his baby. I think you're right. Listen, I probably would have done what Jonathan Ross did, but I bet he's looking at this Cerebrass IPO and thinking to himself, man, like what could have been? That's gonna stick with him for
No
the rest of
doubt.
his life. It has to.
No doubt, no doubt. But I mean, even then, but that's what I'm saying. Like even then, you know what? He probably runs the numbers and he's like, I'd still be net less than I am with the deal that I just signed. Like
It's
I think
true.
that's how the math would work out for him. So like, I don't blame him. Like, dude, come on. And by the time that you take a billion, whatever he made, billion plus, and you just throw it in the S&P 500, and in 5 years' time, it's gonna be 2 billion. You know what I mean? That's what he would have got here. Just like, dude, I think he did a great deal for himself. I think that executive team did a great deal for themselves. It was like masterclass, I think. Good for them. You know what I mean? I hope everything happens exactly how they wanted it to happen, and they're gonna crush it and have like wild success going forward. Um, I just want Grok Cloud to also, kick ass.
What?
I love that business, and I think there's a real opportunity there, and I just want them to run really hard at it. I think that would be super special. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously developers like it, so like take advantage of it, you know? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, do you think that
do a
their
deal, do a
pathway to
deal with
liquidity?
somebody where they do a deal with somebody where they come in and it's an all stock deal, so we at least can carry on. Like I don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like this space is very special right now. So like I just what I it wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing if they sold it and we just like people got cash, like fine, right? But man, I just want to stay in the game. I want to stay in the arena on this stuff. Like I believe in this inference AI data center play. And to the extent that you can have exposure to companies like that in that space is a pretty special thing, I think. So, I just hope they carry on. But anyway, yeah, Grok
Yeah,
Cloud,
me too. I
let's
mean,
go.
I don't know if they're gonna do like some. I don't know if Grok Cloud is gonna do an IPO or get bought out like an all stock deal or something. But I will say, like, man, that is like one of the most exciting things for us right now. Like as people who have been with Grok, like going forward, just thinking like, okay, I already got my meal with the liquidity event. Can I get a free dessert afterwards too? Maybe the dessert can even be better than the steak that I had before. Like just
Yeah.
having that in mind, seeing where they can go with this is going to be super interesting. But
Oh, I have to imagine that them going from 2 million to 3.5 million developers on Grok
huge.
Cloud was a surprise. I'm sure they were like not expecting that to happen. So, but now here we are. So let's take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I'm
So
with you too.
we'll see. We'll see.
So now I'm thinking, Aaron, like while we're on the subject of AI infrastructure right now, I have a couple buddies over here, that are so excited about SpaceX. I got to ask you about SpaceX because
Yeah.
a lot of people have been messaging me this past week. They're saying right now Polymarket Odds has SpaceX opening up above a $2.2 trillion
Mm,
IPO. You know, whether
mm.
that happens or not, last I checked, I think it was, it's like a 61% that's happening. Um,
Okay.
do you think them reaching that valuation has to do with like this whole hyperscaler game now? Like, are
Mhm.
hyperscalers kind of defining that valuation right now?
Okay, so first of all, just to be clear, because there's a lot of like market rumor out there around SpaceX, right? So just to put like a fine point on what is actually real information, the company confidentially filed their S-1 with the SEC on April 1st. That's it. That's the only, there's no valuation data, there's no amount of capital they're going to be raising. Like everything else beyond that is just market rumor. Like when the IPO day is going to be. Now, listen, could the market rumors be 100% correct? Like probably, right? But like everyone should just know this. It's not like it's not like they've made formal announcements on these things, right? So a polymarket kind of view of where the IPO could go off, I think, is just that. It's a polymarket view of where the IPO could go off at, right? But I mean, my take, let me just say this. My take of SpaceX's business is I think it's an incredible business. My my thinking is that SpaceX is going to be like an Amazon. So Amazon went public in like 2000, they sold books online and now they're a hyperscaler. Who would have thought, right? 25 years later that they'd be in that business, right? So like I think the same thing's going to be true for SpaceX. People throw like Ron Barron was on CNBC the other day saying how like SpaceX is going to be a $10 trillion valuation business. And people are like, that guy, what's he talking about? It's because there's going to be businesses that you don't even think about. Like, who would have thought Amazon would be a hyperscaler? I'm telling you, there's going to be something that shows up for SpaceX. It's space. There's going to be something that shows up in space, some way to monetize and make revenue that like only SpaceX will be able to do because they're the only ones that can get there, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be able to capitalize on that and make a lot of revenue, which will, accelerate their valuation. So, like if that's where it's going, I really believe that that's where it's going in the long run. Like, I think they're going to have five, six, seven, eight like massive businesses, all different types of businesses, right?
Do you think anything that we can
Revenue stream.
imagine right now, or do you think that like this technology is evolving and we're kind of have to
Well,
gonna see
well,
where it goes as it progresses?
I think their primary business in the long run they'll be a mining company. They'll mine natural resources off the moon and asteroids and Mars and then sell those to other businesses. They'll be a mining company, natural resources mining company. So I think that will be in the long run, I think that will be the primary revenue driver for SpaceX, natural resources mining. Um, so that's my thesis. Like if it was a $10 trillion business, I'd say like 5 trillion out of the 10 will be natural resources mining,
Uh-huh. Okay,
um,
interesting. You don't think that you're gonna be
which
doing a
hasn't
space
even started
station?
yet. Which hasn't even started yet.
I guess you're, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess with Amazon, it's like, who would have thought that they'd be a hyperscaler right
Yeah,
now delivering your packages, starting as a book company. So who knows where
but
SpaceX is
but
gonna
like
go?
the space station on the moon. Like, what are you gonna do on the moon? You're gonna mine. The space station will be the reason it will be there is to mine resources off the moon. So the business will
Yeah,
be mining. You'll
yeah,
need a space station to facilitate the mining operation. Like that,
yeah,
that's what's, you know what I mean? Like the revenue, when you pull up the income statement, it will be mining, whatever,
yeah. I mean, I
500
think
billion
that
in revenue.
people,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Like I
Right.
think that people are like mining what in space. It's so hard for people to even imagine that since it's like so not in the. Who's thinking about mining anything on space? But just like one
It's not
example is like
sexy.
helium three. Helium three.
Yeah,
There's almost none of it on Earth. It's abundant on the moon. Like on the surface of the moon, it's just like dust on Earth. It's like dust on the moon. This stuff goes for 20 to 25 million dollars per kilogram on Earth. And it's like if we could get over there and find a way to actually process it, bring it down to Earth, it can be used for anything for like to power fission reactors for nuclear, to
yeah,
also like quantum computers down here on Earth, like massive
right.
applications. Can you imagine if they were just like able to just have a $10 billion business, $100 billion business just getting helium 3 so that we
For
can
sure.
deal with this serious cooling problem that we have on Earth instead of going
So,
through hundreds of
a
millions of gallons of water every day?
100%. Listen, this is the stuff. So there's those applications. There's also things that, elements, resources that we don't have on Earth that that are in our solar system, but aren't, we don't have access to them, which could unlock like similar type opportunities and value that you just described there. So like, not to be a geek, right? But if you ever watch Star Trek, in the warp drives for Star Trek, the thing that makes the spaceships go like multiple speeds of light, they have this thing called a dilithium crystal, right? Well, the last like Star Trek thing that they had, series that they had like a couple years back, they ran out of dilithium crystals. They got them from one planet. They ran out. Guess what happened? Everyone's at war with each other trying to get the dilithium crystal, the natural resource. So the one thing that powered the entire universe, economy, the lithium crystal came from one place in the universe or the known universe, and they were running out of it. They used it all. So like, this is my point. Like, who knows what is out there? Okay. There's even the stuff we know about, like helium-3, like you just described. So there's like already an opportunity there why you would stand up a business like that. But then who knows what else is out there? And you talk about going to Mars. Mars is a whole planet of resources to mine.
Man, and I think that's what's also baked into the valuation when people are like they're trading at, over like 100 times earnings. First of all, that's the Elon effect with Tesla.
Yeah,
But Tesla's limited to
yeah,
what we know. Tesla's limited to what we know
right,
we can do with software and like, maybe some cool ideas for the future. Space, like I think that the valuation that SpaceX has right now, it's tied to this dream, where we can actually dream beyond our own universe. What can we find
right.
out there? Are there real? Is the dilithium crystal real? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
can Elon
no,
go
for
get it
sure.
for us and bring it back down to Earth? So,
But listen,
um,
but Aaron, even more like tactically, just like around Starlink, for example. Okay, I think most Americans think about Starlink and they think about, um, they think about like putting a Starlink on their boat or on their RV, right? Or, oh, my house is out kind of a more rural place and I don't really get very good internet. It's spotty or whatever. And I put a Starlink out and now I have like perfect internet. But then everyone's like, that's kind of like, these like edge cases. Like, that's how can that be a big business? Like we got Verizon, we got AT&T, you got whatever, T-Mobile, right? Like what do you really need? What do you really need some of this stuff for? But the reality is there's like a third of the population on the planet. That's like 2.3 billion people that has zero access to the internet. No access. Like Africa and parts of South America and parts of Asia. So like that's what Starlink is for. It's not for us in America. Full stop. I'm sure they'll do a lot of business here in the United States. They're going to have hundreds of millions of people using Starlink that is not in the United States. That's number one. Number two, every time you use an Apple iPhone, the apps on that iPhone have to pay Apple like a fee. It's like 30% of any revenue that gets transacted through the App Store. Apple makes a ton of revenue from that. It's a primary revenue driver for the company. Okay. Even people with all this AI stuff, all the OpenAI and Anthropic subscriptions, Apple's making money. They make 30% of all that additional revenue going through their app. It's insane. Okay. Um, like Starlink could do that. Starlink could say any business, it's the internet, it's the access point to the internet. Any transaction that happens through a Starlink terminal in this country, in Africa, we take 10%.
hmm,
And you know what? Businesses would be like, done. I don't do any business there. You know what I mean? Like, this is all incremental. Like, I'm in. Like, let's go. So, like, software companies, et cetera, like, that's just incremental business. Like, 100%, I'm in. I'll give you 10%. So, like, I mean, I don't know if they'll do those things, right? Where, like maybe in some countries, the users don't want to pay for a Starlink terminal, but they'll be happy to pay 10%, let the companies that they're buying from share in that cost to get them the terminal for free. So there could be like
yeah,
interesting economic models, right? Which, and then could you imagine Starlink basically controlling internet commerce for multiple companies? Oh, this company doesn't want to pay us. No problem. Your website will not work in that African country.
yeah,
You'll type in the
yeah,
URL and it just will not connect to that website. It will just say not available. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so like these are things that we don't have to deal with in the United States, but there's certainly like revenue models that the company could pursue if they wanted to, right? So like So we'll see what happens there. But I just think that there's some massive businesses that I think most people don't really fully understand. I do think once the company goes public, people will start to like open up their eyes to like the potential. I think most folks just say like, oh, they have the rocket business and oh, I can get a Starlink for my RV. It's not that. It's much more. I think there's much, much more potential there. So, um, yeah, like I'm very hopeful for the IPO. And actually, I think the company is going to be super valuable. I do think it's really interesting what they're doing with like in the hyperscaler space now, where they're like making Colossus 1 and Colossus 2 available to like the cursors of the world and well, Colossus 1, I guess. The cursors of the well, I'm sorry, cursors using Colossus 2. Anthropic's got Colossus
Yeah.
1 now, right? So like, they're in that business, which I think is really interesting. I think they've shown that they have a competitive advantage in standing up NVIDIA data centers really quickly. So
Who
yeah, man,
knows? I mean,
SpaceX.
like SpaceX, geez, like we're gonna see what happens in this IPO. There's so many things they do. It just feels like they have like just these tentacles everywhere. They can be everywhere. They could do everything. They're wrapping the world, and it's like, maybe they don't have the sales to earnings ratio of like, Amazon or Google right now. But I just think that like we said before, like Starlink alone, mining, all of these things, that's what gets baked into this valuation right now. And,
Yeah,
I also got to ask you, there's so many other companies that we could talk about. I really do want to talk about Base 10 also, but just really quickly, what do you think's going to happen with this? Like, I hear there are talks that this blackout period, they're considering waiving the blackout period, so that people can liquidate more stock. Also, we're seeing only a 5% float rate. I think that'll be gone
yeah,
in by the
yeah,
day. I think that'll be gone
yeah.
within the day. Like, do you think it's smarter for them to do this slowly phase out institutional investors over the course of 6 months, or do you think it's better for them to wait for that traditional 6 month blackout period and then?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I will say this, like I think so first of all, we'll know when the S1 comes public, like what exactly will happen with the lockup period, blackout period, lockup period. I'll call it lockup period. The what is standard, what is industry standard is like 6 months, right? So there's like a
Yeah,
6 month lockup period. So kind of any deviation from that would be, like non-standard. Um, there have been some like recently some other companies that have gone public. They have like, high water mark where if the stock goes up 50% or 75% and then like stays there for a certain amount of time, then like the preferred shareholders, can get out, right? So there's been some of that. I don't, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not really keen on like to like I'm not really keen to like offer thoughts or pontificate about what the lockup period could be.
I get
I
it.
don't know, right?
I
Like
get
we'll
it.
see,
I
we'll
get it.
see, we'll see what happens in the S1. I mean, the S1's supposed to come out. The market buzz is the S1 comes out tomorrow. So like we'll know tomorrow, right? Wednesday,
Okay,
if
fine.
it happens. Yeah, so that will be interesting to see happen. But yeah, I mean like I definitely think there's going to be a lot of excitement around the IPO. I think a lot of people love Elon Musk and are going to want to obviously get exposure to the company, right? Retail investors included. I think a lot of the institutions, they talk about things that we just talked about now, so like the revenue, the future revenue potential. Um, the fast index inclusion at Nasdaq and Russell, right? Indices, I think is going to be big. My math has that like $16 billion coming in right away, like within 2 weeks of the IPO. So, like this is yeah, and I mean like we'll see what happens with the lockup period. But I tell you, like if I'm an investment banker, like if you think about like, I'm like 23 years here on Wall Street, right? In New York. Like there's a handful of investment banks that like quote unquote like lead these IPOs. And like, what does that mean? There's probably literally like managing directors. There's probably like, I don't know, call it 20 brains. And they're like responsible for this. So 20 human brain. I mean, obviously they have teams or whatever, right? But there's like 20 human brains that have like to make the decisions around how to do this and how to raise this money and how to structure all these things and lockup periods and everything. I mean, naturally the company, is the final decision maker on these things, but they're getting advice from these 20 managing directors, right, across these banks. So I don't envy those guys. Like this is hard. Like the companies are not supposed to IPO at, multi-trillion dollar valuations. You know what I'm saying? Like, and raise this much money, like this much money. It's like these are very hard challenges to navigate, right? And then to have to like kind of predict what happens with the stock price post IPO and how much demand will be there. How is anyone supposed to know how much demand is going to be there? No one knows. If I knew, if those people knew, they'd be living on, they'd be have islands in the Pacific. Like, come on, like no one knows what's going to happen, right? So like, like it's very challenging though, because obviously they're getting paid to come up with these ideas, these concepts of like how to deal with this, um, and of course everyone's looking at it,
Yeah.
highly scrutinized decision making, right? So I'm sure there's a high level of stress with those folks. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna have any problem raising the money. But I do think the terms around some of the stuff and the price action of the stock afterwards will be, something that will be very important to them, and getting that bit right. So we'll see what happens. But it's pretty exciting,
Yeah, it is really
certainly
exciting.
entertaining.
Super hard question to answer. I don't know if there's anyone in the world that can answer that. I don't even think Elon can answer that answer, honestly. How can he say, I know exactly what's going to happen? Who
Dude,
knows where
he's
the
a
stock price is
master.
going to go?
He's a
Yeah,
master
yeah,
at this stuff. But I mean, he's gonna rank up there. I mean, he already does. He ranks up there with Einstein. I mean, the guy is. It's so interesting because he's not like a pure academic, right? But
yeah,
he's delivering like a level of science and achievement which is I think on similar levels. I mean, scientists would probably like puke if they heard me say that. But like just I don't know, as a person living, you know what I mean? Like you read about these people who create these like amazing scientific achievements, academically. They don't commercialize them, but they academically create them. And then you have Musk who's like, creating some of these scientific achievements and then commercializing them and making them like work, right? And scale, which in and of itself is a challenge, right?
yeah.
So
National
he's a pretty
treasure.
special guy. And then of course, like, the marketing. The fact that they
Oh,
do almost no advertising across all of his businesses, right,
and
is
and
just
Tesla's the most
amazing.
recognizable car brand in the world.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's so
he's the best.
amazing. It's so amazing to me, right? It's him and a Twitter account. It's basically their marketing advertising strategy, right? For his businesses. So it's like it's really kind of unique and special. But yeah, so it's like so exciting. I'm like really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would just say this, just to put like an exclamation point on it, and then I do have to call a client, unfortunately. But I would just tell you, man, like I think people should wait and see what the S1 says. Wait till the S1 comes out, right? Read the S1. I'd kind of like stay away from all the market rumor type stuff. I think that's prudent on these things. And then, just go to the company. Whenever the company puts out, information, that's the place, I think the right place to look for it. And that way, I think you won't get yourself tied up in knots around this stuff. But yeah, we're having fun. It's gonna be a fun. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
fun one, right?
yeah, listen, if that's one's coming out tomorrow, then maybe we'll talk about it on the pod next week. But I guess
Yeah,
until
sure,
then,
certainly.
Aaron, it's always a pleasure. Super exciting discussion and excited to speak to you next Tuesday.
All right, brother. Appreciate you, man. Good to see you.
All the best.
All right, take care.